UK's national anthem is set to change because Britain's longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, is no more. She died peacefully at the age of 96 after reigning for 70 years. Her children, including the now King Charles III, her grandchildren, Prince William and Prince Harry, all rushed to Balmoral Castle in Scotland, where the Queen had been residing since July. Condolences are pouring in from across the world, and mourners are paying tribute outside of Buckingham Palace. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted in honour of the monarch, saying she personified dignity and decency in public life and will be remembered as a stalwart in the years to come. Listen in to Liz Truss give her condolences. Remember, she was sworn in just a few days ago as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed. She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure. She has been a personal inspiration to me and to many Britons. Her devotion to duty is an example to us all. Earlier this week, at 96, she remained determined to carry out her duties as she appointed me as her 15th Prime Minister. Throughout her life, she's visited more than 100 countries, and she has touched the lives of millions around the world. It is a day of great loss, but Queen Elizabeth II leaves a great legacy.
I had the opportunity to meet her before she passed, and she was an incredibly gracious and decent woman. And the thoughts and prayers of the American people are with the people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth in their grief.
With the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, an historic reign and a long life devoted to duty, family, faith and service has come to an end. This is a morning of sadness for the world, for the Commonwealth and all Australians. It is a day of profound sadness and grief for the royal family, who have lost a beloved mother, grandmother and great-grandmother. This time of mourning will pass, but the deep respect and warm regard in which Australians have always held for Her Majesty will never fade. May she rest in eternal peace.
Later today, we're going to have King Charles III return to London with the Queen Consort, Camilla. We are due to then have a public address from King Charles. That is expected about 6 o'clock local time, which should be about 10:30 p.m. IST. Before that, you're going to have a ceremony where the churches around the country will ring their bells for an hour. So all that follows later today. Then you will have the body brought down to London and will be here in Buckingham Palace. Then the body will be moved, and we are talking about these events over the space of several days, to Westminster Hall, which is located within Parliament. That is where people can file past, pay their respects. When her mother died, about 200,000 people filed past the body. We can expect very many more this time. After that, the next event will be that she will be brought again to the Westminster Abbey, where the funeral service will be held. That will then lead to a funeral procession from Westminster Abbey to Wellington Square. From there, the body will be taken in a hearse to Windsor Castle, and there the last rites will be performed mostly within the family. That will be more a family and a private event.
She was known as Lilibet to those near and dear to her because she couldn't pronounce Elizabeth when she was young. This was a tidbit that I learned from The Crown, which has paused production. And from a young girl who never expected to be queen to the longest-serving monarch in British history, she's been a constant over a span of 70 years and an indelible part of our pop culture as well. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II became much loved and well-respected, known for a sense of duty and devotion to a life of service. Here's a report by CNN's Mandy Gaither on the extraordinary life of Queen Elizabeth II.
December 1936.
A great country of the world.
The moment that forever changed a young girl's life. After ruling less than a year, King Edward VIII abdicated the throne to his brother.
A new reign began in Britain as the Duke of York was crowned King George VI.
The new king's eldest daughter, then Princess Elizabeth, known as Lilibet to family, became next in line to the throne. 11 years later, marked a marriage.
Princess Elizabeth married Philip, the present Duke of Edinburgh.
The couple was in Kenya on a Commonwealth tour in place of an ill King George when the 25-year-old princess got news that changed the path of her life.
The shadow of death hovered over King George of England as these last pictures were made.
Her father's reign lasted 15 years. Once a princess, suddenly a queen.
The hopes and hearts of England and the Commonwealth went out to a young queen.
In 1953, Queen Elizabeth II was crowned. Her husband, who was later granted the title of His Royal Highness, the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, was the first peer to pay his respects at the coronation, the first one to be broadcasted live on television.
A story of a queen who wrote bright pages in the story of the year.
In the years that followed, during times of great social change, the Queen kept a busy schedule, traveling across the globe more widely than any other monarch before her, meeting with just about every U.S. president since being crowned.
She remembers learning from her parents how important keeping America on side was during the war, and then America came into the war. She remembers that so well. She remembers, the American troops, D-Day, all that. To her, it's a very important part of her growing up.
With no official political power, the Queen wielded the influence of a figurehead. In her private life, things weren't always easy. The year of her 40th anniversary on the throne marred by separation, divorce, and estrangement in her children's marriages, and a fire at Windsor Castle.
It has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
Then, in 1997, the death of the People's Princess. Through a great deal of heartache, the Queen stayed true to her greatest passions, horses and dogs, balanced with the joy of her grandchildren and later a new role of great-grandmother. But even that at times brought hardships. At the beginning of 2020, Buckingham Palace announced that Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, were no longer working members of the royal family. Through it all, Prince Philip was, in the Queen's words, the strength and stay of her reign. He died in 2021 before his 100th birthday after more than 70 years of marriage.
It's just been one of the great royal romances, I think, of history.
From a girl who was third in line to the throne to the longest-serving British monarch, Queen Elizabeth II leaves behind a legacy, a life full of family, faith, and devotion to country.